Commander Vectar's four eyes widened in horror as the human's escape pod spiraled toward the surface of Kethris 9. The planet was classified as a Class X death world, a place where even the most resilient species in the Galactic Council would last mere hours. The atmospheric pressure alone could crush a Zelthari warrior, and the indigenous predators made the legendary beasts of Chronox Prime look like domesticated pets. Should we initiate emergency extraction protocols? His second officer chirped nervously, mandibles clicking in distress. Vectar's translator collar flickered as he processed the question. Protocol dictated immediate rescue for any sentient being stranded on a Class X world. But curiosity, that dangerous trait the humans had somehow infected him with during his years of observation, made him hesitate. "Maintain orbit," he ordered, his voice carrying the weight of command. "Deploy observation drones. I want to document this." The crew exchanged uncertain glances, but none dared question their commander's decision. They had all heard the rumors about humans, the species from the improbable death world called Earth, beings who had evolved under conditions that would be considered experimental torture in any civilized star system. On the surface of Kethris 9, Lieutenant Ryan Cole dragged himself from the smoking wreckage of his pod. His survival suit had been damaged in the descent, and he could already feel the alien atmosphere burning his exposed skin. The gravity was roughly 1.8 times Earth standard, enough to make every movement feel like he was wearing a weighted vest. "Well, this is just great," Ryan muttered, surveying his surroundings. Crimson vegetation stretched in every direction, punctuated by jagged rock formations that looked like the teeth of some ancient beast. In the distance, something roared, a sound that made his evolutionary instincts scream danger. Commander Vectar watched through the drone feed as the human stood there, seemingly assessing his situation with remarkable calm. Any other species would be panicking, triggering their distress beacon, begging for extraction. But the human simply began moving with purpose. The first thing Ryan did was locate water. The tricorder fragment he'd salvaged from the wreckage detected a stream approximately 2 kilometers east. 2 kilometers through hostile terrain and crushing gravity, with a damaged suit. Vectar calculated the human's survival probability at less than 3%. But Ryan Cole had survived worse odds. He'd done survival training in the Australian outback, the Amazon rainforest, and the Siberian wilderness. An alien death world was just another Tuesday with worse weather and angrier wildlife. He fashioned a walking stick from a piece of the pod's support structure, using it to test the ground ahead and maintain balance in the oppressive gravity. The journey to the stream took him 4 hours, during which he encountered 3 separate predatory species. Each time he used noise, rocks, and pure aggressive intimidation to drive them off. Vectar noted with fascination that the human seemed to understand predator behavior intuitively, despite never having encountered these specific creatures before. At the stream, Ryan didn't simply drink. He studied the ecosystem, noting which local creatures used the water source. He observed insect analogs and small prey animals, indicators that the water was likely safe. He used a piece of his suit's filtration system to purify a small amount, waiting 30 minutes to see if he experienced any adverse reactions before drinking more. "Impossible," breathed Vectar's medical officer, a Talveen with 3 doctoral degrees in xenobiology. "His species' adaptability protocols are unlike anything in the database. He's conducting field analysis that would take our scientists days, and he's doing it in minutes with damaged equipment." As night fell on Kethris 9, temperatures dropped to levels that would freeze most carbon-based life forms solid. Ryan had already anticipated this. He'd spent the remaining daylight hours constructing a shelter, using a technique he'd learned from primitive Earth survival manuals. He dug into the side of a hill, creating a small cave that would protect him from the wind and provide thermal insulation. He lined the walls with the crimson vegetation, after carefully testing it to ensure it wasn't toxic or flammable. He used debris from his pod to create a reflective barrier at the entrance, bouncing his body heat back into the shelter. For fire, he used a piece of the pod's power cell, carefully shorting it against metal fragments to create sparks. The local vegetation burned with an acrid smoke, but it burned. Within 2 hours of nightfall, Ryan Cole had a functioning shelter with a heat source, fresh water, and a defensive position. Commander Vectar stood transfixed before the holographic display. His crew had gathered around, abandoning their post to witness something that should have been impossible. The human wasn't just surviving. He was thriving, Over the next 3 days, Ryan expanded his shelter into a small compound. He constructed tools from salvaged materials and local resources. He built water collection systems, a smoke signal visible from orbit, and even primitive weapons for hunting. He'd identified 3 edible plant species and successfully trapped a small creature that provided much-needed protein. On the 4th day, Vector finally authorized the extraction. The shuttle descended toward Ryan's location, finding him casually roasting meat over his fire, his makeshift camp looking almost comfortable. "Lieutenant Cole," Vector said as Ryan boarded the shuttle, "your species continues to defy all logical probability." Ryan grinned, his face streaked with dirt and exhaustion, but his eyes bright with the triumph of survival. "Commander, where I come from, we have a saying. Earth doesn't make quitters. It makes survivors." As the shuttle ascended, Vector looked down at the small compound the human had built in just 4 days, on a planet that should have killed him in hours. He updated his report on humanity with a new designation, one that would spread through the Galactic Council like wildfire. Not just Deathworlders, not just survivors, but something far more terrifying to the comfortable civilized species of the galaxy. Builders, adapters, and warriors who saw impossible odds as merely inconvenient suggestions. The universe, Vector reflected, would never be the same now that humanity had reached the stars.